If you'll remember, way back when the Jussie Smollett story initially broke, I talked about a hypothetical scenario connected to that case. Let's say everything happened as we know it happened. Jussie Smollett staged this with the Nigerian Osundaru brothers, but in this scenario, there happened to be two white people in the vicinity taken into custody by the police and charged with the hate assault on Jussie Smollett. The scenario I posited is, what would Jussie have done knowing that there were two innocent people about to go down for the crime that he staged and committed himself? Would he have stepped up and said those weren't the guys? Or would he have doubled down, sending two innocent people to jail, have their lives ruined, their names tarnished in the press, in order to forward his own personal agenda? While we'll never know about that specific case because Jussie chose a night where there was a polar vortex, so there was virtually nobody out on the street to be mistaken for the fake attackers in that case, we actually did find a scenario out of Edwardsville College where this actually occurred. And what we found out is that when people go out of their way to commit a racial hoax and they get two innocent people who definitely did not do it, not only do the two people stay accusing them, stay silent, don't go out of their way to defend their reputation and say, I don't even think it might be them, introduce a little bit of skepticism, but the whole campus can be worked up into a hysterical mob targeting these two students, putting their names out there in the public to the point where just to attend campus, even though you're completely innocent, you essentially need a security detail in order to get by. And that's the story we're going to go over today. A hate hoax where the victim isn't just the group in general that's being accused of being the perpetrator of this hoax, but where the victims are two students on the campus and the devastation that was wrought against them by these people who are just so desperate for some level of victimization. But before we get into this video is sponsored. So what I'm going to do is toss it over to the sponsor, and then we'll bring it back over here and we'll talk about it on the other side. Almost half of Americans each and every year have a healthier lifestyle as a part of their New Year's resolution. And since obesity is such a great problem in this nation, this often includes weight loss goals. So a lot of you are going to be experimenting with diets, and one of the diets that I recommend is the keto diet. My own mother has tried this and lost weight, but sometimes you need a little bit of a boost. You need a little bit of an assist whenever you're trying something new, and that's why I'm bringing you this amazing powder from KetoWithJustice.com. This can help elevate the level of ketones in your body, prolong a state of ketosis, so that you can better meet your weight loss goals going into the new year. A healthier future is upon you if you go for it, and now you can get Keto with Justice for 51% off with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it, lose the weight. If you're not satisfied, return it, no questions asked. KetoWithJustice.com. So this story comes out of Illinois, Edwardsville campus, which is a campus I'm not familiar with in that state. And basically, it goes as many of these stories tend to go. A black student coincidentally finds a note, it's a racist note, on their door, and also they receive some hateful text messages, and the campus lights itself on fire in protest of the evil white racist.
It's a really stupid move that someone would even think that they'd be able to get away with this in any way, shape, or form.
Students are fired up over hateful messages found on an area college campus. The comments were put on a dorm room door at SIU Edwardsville. The content racial and threatening. News 4's Russell Kinsall is in Edwardsville tonight asking what's going to happen to the person behind the hate.
However, that's honestly a bit of an understatement in terms of the reaction, because not only was this a local news story that, even if it were true, would have been a local isolated incident investigated by the campus police and the local police because it involved criminal harassment, possibly. This was actually investigated by the Secret Service as well, because for whatever reason, somebody leaving a mean note on a black student's door is now a matter for the Secret Service to investigate. So they did a deep dive into this situation. There was a massive protest on the campus, and people even went out of their way to find two suspects in this incident.
I saw a picture flying around social media with what it had written on it, which was some pretty vile things.
JC Trello lives in Woodland Hall, where the message was written on a dorm room door. Students say the message included a reference to violence and a derogatory comment about blacks.
I was shocked, honestly, because that's just you always hear about stuff like that, and when it actually happens at the school you go to, it's really bizarre.
The two suspects who had their names dragged through the mud, who were ripped apart by students on the campus and actually experienced significant real threats of violence, were students called Amanda Jerome and Jimmy Thule.
The message was believed to have been written late Saturday night or early Sunday morning.
I think the message was undeniably one that meant to threaten or intimidate.
Jamie Ball is SIUE's Director of Opportunity, Access, and Title IX Coordinator.
We have some tools available in terms of our residence hall security, because students swipe in and swipe out, so we can identify who's coming and going when.
Now, I don't know what exactly about this case actually led them to point the finger at these two white students, but this is a campus where keycard access is often the way that one would get around, so it appears to me, based on right now, unless I find some personal motive or personal animus against these two white students, that it could have been a wrong place, wrong time kind of situation. But regardless, not only were these considered the suspects early on in the investigation privately, this became public knowledge across the campus, and this not only spread amongst the students, but of course, since we live in the internet age, this was put out onto social media, and a change.org petition was actually put up calling out the campus for apparently siding with these definitely two evil white racist students. And I'm going to read you some of the archive of this change.org petition. Now, this petition was to expel the racists that were involved in this case. So they were already determining that these two students, who by the way were just suspected, obviously based on frivolous evidence, because obviously they did not do this, to be expelled immediately from the campus based only on the suspicion. Now it reads as follows: there has been a matter of emergency at Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. A black teen and her sister had their lives threatened by some white teens on campus and have no justice. Threatening to murder someone is a crime, all caps. Yet they are trying to turn that crime into a cold case. But we won't let them. In no world should somebody be able to say, quote, "I will lynch your sister," and be protected afterwards, as of it was not their fault. The two black sisters were left unprotected and hung out to dry, while the white girl had more escorts than Jay-Z. This is what being black and American, not being black in America, is, no comma. But we aren't letting it happen anymore. It hurt me. It hurt us all. So today, we signed the petition stating that.
Students say they're embarrassed that someone on their campus would do such a thing.
Kind of disappointing because this is like a place we all come to learn and be safe.
Students say the victims are two female students and that the person who wrote the message, also a female student.
I heard and saw pictures and videos of them escorting the student who did it out.
So far, the university not commenting on a potential person of interest or what action has been taken against them, but they are saying whoever did this violated the non-discrimination and harassment policy and will face serious consequences.
Now, because of the way our society works, because of the way the news media works, where they consider it unworthy to get the other side of the story, we don't actually have any quotes from the actual victims in this case, the two people who were framed as the perpetrators of this crime, who had it so bad on campus they had to be escorted around by security while a racist mob was targeting them. Even in this petition is like, look at how many escorts they had, and nobody protected at all the black girls that were threatened by these people, even though nobody would agree with racial threatening or anything like that, and they would not need the security, the people that everybody hates, that you're rallying a petition against, that you're trying to get expelled, would likely need protection as they go through their day-to-day lives on campus. Again, just imagine you're 18 years old, you have no problems with anybody based on the color of their skin, but students have a problem with you based on the color of your skin, so they decide to frame you or stage a hoax, and for some reason you're considered the suspect, and instead of doing what's honorable and coming out and saying it wasn't them or it was a hoax, this is blown up out of control, they just let it happen. They let you be savaged on the campus. They let you maybe drop out of school, maybe run away, maybe never go back to college again, because your dream needs to be subordinated to their desire for victimization. Now, the actual criminal in the case, the person that you should know the name of, the person that should lose all respect in polite society, is a woman called Kalia Clark Mabins, who is charged with 3 counts of disorderly conduct, for filing a false police report, and unfortunately, since this is likely a first-time offense, she will get a slap on the wrist from the criminal justice system. There is almost no word whatsoever, again, about what happened to her two victims, if they decided to leave campus, if the campus has accepted the fact that this was in fact a hoax, and they were targeting two members of their campus without any evidence or anything like that, and everybody that was involved in the protest, everybody that was involved in the hate campaign, seems to have just washed their hands of the situation. During the course of these events, a member of the Black Student Union decided to organize a protest against all the evil white racism that was going on the campus. So this protest was held, but when we get the follow-up, when we get the Secret Service and the local police involved in this incident involving threatening notes on a college campus, and we find out that it was a hoax and the person that this student union was backing was in fact the liar, was in fact the criminal, was in fact the victimizer, not the victim, they have no room for comment. They don't need to respond. They don't need to acknowledge that this happened. They don't need to answer anybody's questions because they did what they did when the story was convenient, and now the story's inconvenient, so they're just going to pretend that it didn't exist. When the school introduced all this racial equity nonsense in order to fix it, when they had professors and all these people join in on a protest that, by the way, was targeting two students based on the color of their skin, they're like, no big deal, we're all fine, nobody's going to report on this. Did you even ever get the perspective from the actual victims in this case? No, who the hell cares? Let's just pretend this never happened and talk about how there's other instances of racism that you don't hear about. You only hear about the hoax or something like that. That only gets some attention, possibly because we gave it undue attention, even though the allegations were totally uncredible, and that's really on you and more proof of your evil white racism. David Daniel, the vice president of the Black Student Union, told KDSK5 that they should have expelled the girl, and it being under investigation wasn't good enough. Quote, they say it's under investigation, but I feel like she shouldn't be on campus, period, because you threatened to lynch students on this campus. Again, this is the vice president of the Black Student Union.
Students at Southern Illinois University Edwardsville are demanding action after they say a white student made racial slurs and death threats to a black girl on campus. The students say this happened last week inside of a residence hall.
Students are outraged that no action has been taken against the student. Administrators say they're working on it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I was not expecting, when I turned on this local news broadcast, to see Al Gore on the screen reporting the news. Obviously, this conspiracy goes much deeper than we think, and even if that's not exactly Al Gore, that's at least his father's illegitimate son, thus making him Al Gore's brother. You can't just drop this on me, local news, without preparing me. Holy crap, he looks almost exactly like Al Gore. If you deny it, you're just wrong.
A group at Southern Illinois University Edwardsville fed up.
We as black students do not feel safe and we do not feel comfortable on this campus, and it's been that way for a long, it's not even just this, it's been that way for a long time.
David Daniel is a senior and vice president of the Black Student Union on campus.
So notice right quick that this kid, who is supposedly really offended by this situation, he had to organize a whole mob of people to try to force this poor innocent girl outside of the school, is smiling throughout this interview. He's having a great time. Remember, he supposedly feels like he is in life-threatening danger and the campus is siding with the racists, yet the whole entire time he's trying to hold back a smile. Just look at this man and tell me you think this is a good faith actor. You think this is somebody who's not enjoying this whole scenario and the attention that he's getting for organizing a movement to punish somebody without due process who ended up being innocent.
They didn't get too specific, and then later that day, pictures started circulating of what was said.
Pictures of sticky notes on a black student's dorm room door, and of a text message she says was filled with racial slurs and threats, including the N-word and, quote, lynch.
And, of course, we were angry. We had enough.
David organized a...
Look at the size of this group of people and think about what you would do if you're a girl age 18 to 20 and this many people are rallying to force you off the campus. There's an investigation being done against you. The other person was cleared in the investigation, so now you are the sole suspect, and now all of these people are threatening you to the point where you need security just to attend university.
They say it's under investigation, but I feel like she shouldn't be on campus, period, because you threatened to lynch students on this campus.
And remember, while this is going on, the person who reported this incident knows that she is responsible for the notes, for the text messages, for all the threatening posts, and she's just letting this happen. An entire mob has gathered to force an innocent girl off of campus based solely on the fact that she was the closest white person to the scenario, or some rumor or innuendo ended up tying her to the scene. She is 100% innocent. The person who is accusing her knows that she's innocent, and yet this is allowed to go on. And yet this person did not come forward. And yet it took the police and the Secret Service to figure out that she was the one behind this. It's insane. It's disgusting. And never forget that these hoaxes do have victims. They do have accused people. They do have people who live in terror when an angry mob points the finger at them and doesn't care about whether or not they're guilty.
They say it's under investigation, but I feel like she shouldn't be on campus, period, because you threatened to lynch students on this campus.
Are there any consequences for David Daniel, the guy who said, I don't care about due process, I'm gonna organize a group harassment campaign against a female student on my campus because I think she's guilty and I don't really care to wait for the investigation? Likely not. He likely right now at this moment is the president of that student association, because what happens when you participate in these racial hoaxes, what happens when you victimize other people in order to pretend that you yourself are the victim, is you benefit. And anytime there's any consequences after the fact, nobody seems to notice. This guy ought to be ashamed of himself. He should have issued a formal apology. He should have actually answered emails that requested comment for him, but he has no honor, no dignity, no respect for the truth. He has no sense of justice. He has no respect for your intelligence, so he expects you to just forget about it, pretend it didn't happen, pretend that he didn't whip up a racial hysteria based on a lie, because honestly, he might want to go to graduate school one day, and it might be inconvenient if you notice. Meanwhile, at graduate school, they might be like, wow, you participated in a racial hoax? Wow, you were trying to expel somebody because you thought investigations are just code words for racism? You know what? We're gonna accept you into this graduate school. Here's a stipend for you. Absolute scum all the way around. This story is shameful, it's disgusting, and you need to know about it. Never forget it. Links to everything in the description of this video, and as usual, if you like this video, you can show them by leaving a like, you can subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social medias, each and every single one of them, support me via the support links for more stories like this. Yes, I'm doing deep dives into each and every one of these cases that I find interesting. This has been me talking about yet another hoax. Till next time.